all their names as we are ready for the match to begin.
Yeah, this is going to be a real treat as we have Cat playing Grixis Delver, kind of the stock menace from them, versus Sam, a true off the beaten path innovator by trade, playing something off the wall you've never even thought about possibly. Leading on an Inventor's Fair and a Manifold Key. Got a Mox Opal. And that's the turn. So Cat, probably has a good idea of what's going on here. Just based on those few cards, and leading on a Ponder to see if they can find the cards they're looking for. If you're Cat here, what is your plan? You're not going to have that early pressure, clearly. He's not playing a threat on turn one, but what are you thinking about when you see this open?
Yeah, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, it's Sam Black. There's something going on. There's a lot of mana being available here. The ring sort of jumps out to me as a thing that could be untapped with these keys. So I'm thinking there's something like that. Means I kind of want Daze, Force of Negation into those cards. Orcish Bowmaster is a good way to sort of punish the ring. I want to have something to make it so Sam cannot go for an early ring and just start taking over this game before I have pressure.
Yeah, and Sam with an Ancient Tomb here, going for a defense grid. And Cat's hand looks like it's a lot of Brainstorms and not a lot.
Dazes.
Yeah. This defense grid really, really punishing for Cat. Now, defense grid making it so that anything happening on not that player's turn is going to cost 3 more. Really boxing out Cat's ability to interact on Sam's turn, which is, that Daze not being able to get through because of that Inventor's Fair. Really shutting down what Cat's plan might have been to kind of keep Sam at bay.
Mm-hmm. As we are going to see Orcish Bowmaster, the play for the turn. And this is one of the cards we just talked about. Cat here, they don't have a ton of cards that can interact now due to defense grid. So this is something that the ring will actually cost you life up front. Historically speaking, and typically how the card plays, the ring, you get the cards and get the life loss later, which is part of why it's so powerful. Orcish Bowmaster looks to undo that a little bit and actually compound the damage you're taking greatly over time.
Yeah, you wind up taking it like 3 times, right? You take it from the Amass token, you take it from the Orcish Bowmaster triggers, and then you take it from the ring itself. As we see Sam with a City of Traders, paying another 2 life with the Ancient Tomb to play a Mystic Forge. Kind of like a different one ring for this deck where everything is colorless. So going to be able to kind of roll things off the top here and use it to clear things that Sam doesn't want. But this is exactly the kind of spot Sam wants to be in. Got 3 mana, anything like a Basalt Monolith or Grim Monolith, right? Like how dangerous is this for Cat to be in this position with Sam having this the Sanctuary?
This is a real anxiety moment. The biggest thing that's happening right now is that Sam is limited on actual mana. So Sam has a bunch of mana rocks in the deck. Grim Monolith, like you mentioned, Thran Dynamo. We have a bunch of these type of cards, Basalt Monolith. Once we find those, we can start turboing through our deck, and you're seeing that's what Sam's looking for. Exiling a powerful card like Karn the Great Creator, something you might not expect at first glance because we need the mana to actually do this sort of thing. So Cat here casting Brainstorm is going to need to find some pressure so that Sam doesn't have time just to play every card off the top of their deck because it will be taken over.
Yeah, it looks like Cat getting a chance to cast one of those Brainstorms, looking to just get something going here. Again, this defense grid really shutting them down on their ability to work through what's going on here. And with that Mystic Forge, something like a Force of Will, even if they were to leave up all their mana, might not be enough, right? They're drawing so many cards. They're rolling off the top of their library, right? Sam's in that spot that they want to be in. So looks like we're coming across for 2, just getting what pressure we can out of this. And drawing for the Bauble as Sam is going to start up here potentially again.
Yeah. Sam gaining life off the Invention Fair trigger and taking a little peekski-poo at what's on top. Both players know this because Cat did look with Mishra's Bauble. And is this the Paradox engine? It is. So this is, you saw Sam Black on Twitter looking for this card. A lot of people thought it was for the ring. They assumed Modern, but it turned out to be Legacy. Now, every time Sam casts a spell, it's going to untap all non-land permanents Sam controls. That means that Sam's mana rocks are just going to start producing a ton of mana. As we do have a voltaic key here, untapping the Mox Opal and then retapping. We're going to use Mystic Forge to reset the top card. That also means if we find a 0 or something, we can reset the top again because we're going to untap the Mystic Forge.
Yeah, it's using the whole key, this deck. You know, it has the way to not only get more mana, but also reset the Forge. And really just untapping permanents and tapping permanents. This is all that Sam Black's deck is designed to do. And it is certainly doing it.
Yeah, and so we're seeing here Sam is casting the card off the Forges and holding priority on the trigger. So you're seeing Sam's checking the top card to make sure, like, okay, I do something before the untap trigger from the Paradox Engine happens. That's why the cards are being put not with the rest sort of in the battle zone and letting Sam sort of float mana and do things. So because Lotus Petal here lets us float a mana off this Mox Opal so that for future turns we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's important to also point out that this Orcish Bowmasters, had this Mystic Forge been the One Ring, we would have seen that punishing effect. But as Sam is able to still effectively draw so many cards here and see so much of his deck, not costing him any additional life to that Bowmasters, which is kind of big here.
It's huge. We are going to see the Mox Opal here. We're going to respond, maybe exile the top card if we don't like it with Mystic Fortune. This is costing Sam a life in every iteration. So Sam is limited a little bit. Only gets 8 more cards before we have to stop being able to correct the top of our deck. But we are going to get to, get another untap here in a second. The untap trigger resolves this still spell into the sack. We can float the mana before the Opal hits.
Yeah, you can really see all the wheels turning for Sam on every one of these decisions because he really does have so many options, right? With all of these untaps on the keys, the floating mana, the Paradox Engine triggers, he's got a lot of opportunity, only 9 more times, now 8 with this activation of Mystic Forge, to pick and choose, find one of the things that he really needs to be able to cut off all the limitations on what he's able to play off the top of the library here. But yeah, it's just a lot of decisions being made, even in just this one turn where he's kind of maybe surfing. He's not quite spinning off the top. He might wipe out here. He might not get where he needs to go, but is definitely going somewhere.
Yeah, worth noting too, Sam's playing 12 lands this weekend. So Sam is not going to run into a bunch of lands in a row like you might see in a normal deck that plays that has a bunch of cards like Lotus Petal in the deck instead, which work very well with what Sam's trying to do here.
We see another Lotus Petal, just more amassing of mana here from Sam, who has a Mishra's research desk, another way to draw cards that does not draw cards. I'm kind of in love with the construction of this deck. There's a lot of cards that I never thought about as cards you'd play in Legacy, but really showing off just how unique a deck builder Sam is, and also just how much research must have gone into building this the way it's been built.
Yeah, I think Sam Black really proves the point that Magic is underexplored in a lot of formats, this one included, right? There's a lot of times where, and here's Karn the Great Creator, where players feel like things have been solved, they know exactly what's going on, and then we see players do things like this where it kind of gets out of hand. Sam also hasn't found a Basilica Monolith or a Grim Monolith. If we had that card in play, we would have so much mana. It looks like, Sam's been barely winning. Oh, I don't know if I want to play this deck. It looks so hard. Looks like there's a bunch there. But if we ever find one of those, it's going to be big games. It looks like Sam's floating a lot of mana.
Yeah, not to spoil the party, but that top card was Basalt Monolith. Just a nice 3-mana artifact that taps for 3 mana, and you can pay 3 to untap it. But with all these keys, now Sam's making approximately a bajillion colorless mana every spell that is coming off the top. Each of these keys effectively now soul rings.
Yeah, so what's happening here is Sam is paying 1 mana to untap the monolith with the ring. So every one of those tapping of the rings, like Abe just said, is a soul ring. So we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 mana in Sam's mana pool, plus the colored mana from the Opal. And now you're seeing what the deck's really like. You might have been thinking, why are all these keys in the deck? Oh, that's cute with Mystic Force, but I don't know if that's actually good. Now you're seeing like it gets out of hand very quickly as another key enters the battlefield, which means we're going to get more looks, more mana generation. And we might just see Sam leave his mana tap like this until we sort of run out of things we can do.
Yeah, and important to note, how is it that Sam's deck wins here? Is either a Lattice Lock, there's an Emrakul in the deck, but also there's just a Walking Ballista in the sideboard here, a card that Karn has not been allowed to get in formats where Karn gets played in a long while. But with the amount of mana Sam has, that means Sam only needs 38 mana to deal lethal here, and that Karn has not been used. So we're pretty close to 38. We're only a spell or two away from that reality, and so really just showing off exactly how potent this deck is. Imagine if we had this Basalt Monolith from the jump, we would already be deep into game 2 by now. It feels like.
Yeah. This is one of those things where it feels like Sam actually got pretty unlucky to not have one of these things get found earlier. Sam has like 12 of these mana rocks that produce a ton of mana. Now, Grim Monolith is basically the same thing. And so Sam's saying, hey, I'm going to just, make a bunch of mana, and I'm going to show you this Walking Ballista real quick. Cat's like, I believe you, but, let's just see it here. And, yeah, we're going to move on to game number 2. So what a crazy game, and totally showing us here what Sam Black is capable of doing. And just sort of...
Yeah, this is one of the coolest decks that I have seen. I remember there was a time when Karn first came out that people tried to do something like this with just the Mystic Forge. But Sam really taking that idea to a whole new level with the addition of the One Ring to Magic. And so looking at sideboarding here, Cat obviously got stuck behind a defense grid there early. Counter Magic probably among her best tools. But what she's got access to now is going to include Plague Engineer, Grafdigger's Cage, to Meltdown, to Pyroblast, to Surgical Extraction, to Force Negation, Hydroblast, a red elemental blast, and a blue elemental blast. So what of those are you really looking at, Mason, if you are Cat? What's your plan here?
So Meltdown is something I want. Early we saw Sam sort of set up a couple artifacts on the board. Obviously, if we hit the part with the Mystic Forge, the ring is going to be really hard to use as a response. But for stopping early mana rocks, Meltdown is a great card and something I'm super interested in. Same for Force of Negation. That is going to be really good for them. Cat is someone who wants to be putting pressure on board and take over the game from there. So that is going to be in their wheelhouse. Otherwise, I don't think they have too much. You could maybe once again bring in something like a Surgical Extraction if you wanted to counter something and then take a key piece. In a deck like this, that I'm a little bit more down for this. We talked last round about how let's move to Sam's deck real quick. We might want to use Surgical Extraction to hit Rhinos, but it's a little unlikely. This deck Sam's playing here today, it has so many different moving pieces, it might be a bit better.
Yeah, and Sam's sideboard obviously has some slots devoted here to the Karn Wish package, but has 3 Dismember, 2 Leyline of the Void, 2 Surgical Extraction. Could bring in like some of these Wish targets like Tormod's Crypt or the Mystic Forge or Surge Hacker Mech. Is there anything you'd really change here from Sam?
There's maybe a world where I want some Dismembers. I could see that. You just don't want to get run over. And Orcish Bowmaster, once again, we talked about how if this was the ring, or things would have been really different with Orcish Bowmaster in play. You maybe want like 1 or 2 Dismembers over some of these cards just to have that ability to go and remove that card so you can start comboing off. So I think that's about it though from Sam's side, as the players seem to be drawing up their hands.
Yeah, it looks like they are getting ready to start game 2. I was curious. So Grafdigger's Cage, right? That stops Mystic Forge?
Does it? I thought it was just creatures on Grafdigger's Cage. Maybe it's spells.
I think it says you can't cast them from graveyards or libraries too.
Ooh, let's take a double check ski on that card. Obviously, all these words do matter. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can interplay. Players can't cast spells from the graveyard or library. Yeah, so Grafdigger's Cage is actually really good there as well. Great catch, Abe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Cat is keeping their opening 7, and Sam is mulliganing 2-6 here. It's going to be interesting to see, as always with the Delver decks, there's so many options. You have so many of these different, 1 and 2 ofs that you can bring in. They have their place. They have their plans for them. Seeing exactly how they line up against all of the crazy things that can happen in a format as deep as Legacy. Even you might not have that Grafdigger's Cage thinking about Mystic Forge, but seeing if that's something that Cat feels is the right choice to go with is going to be really interesting in these games.
Mm-hmm. Also, something that's pretty interesting looking at Sam's deck is Sam has 4 the One Ring in the main deck and 3 Mystic Forge. 3 Mystic Forge in the main and 1 Mystic Forge in the side. maybe harkens to me that Sam actually that card's better in the deck than the Ring is, which is pretty telling because Karn, you now have more copies of Mystic Forge, right? You have 7 Forges compared to the 4 of the Ring, or you could have a Ring in your sideboard to be able to wish for it. Sam wants it in the main deck.
Yeah, that is a really, really good catch about the way this is built. It's always fascinating to see into the mind of someone like Sam Black and what they might have thought about and how you can read into these specific numbers. The Sam looks like they're looking at a close 6-card hand, whether or not they're going to keep this and put a card on the bottom or go down to 5.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like just taking a minute trying to figure out exactly. And with these card decks, you do want to make sure that you make a good choice with your mulligans. It's sort of, kind of like resolving a big draw spell, right? And you want to make sure that you're not happy redoing it, much like Ponder.
Yeah, Cat leading off here with a Bauble on themselves. Looks like they might like what they see. They're leading on a Volcanic Island and passing, so choosing to draw that card rather than using the fetch land in their hand. Now let's see what Sam's thoughts were. We have a turn 1 Urza's Saga. A key.
Minor Misstep.
Looks like you made a bit of a mistake, Sam.
More of a misstep when you get down to it, really. As the Mox Opal comes down.
All right, so Cat here. Wastelanding the Urza Saga. And playing a Grafdigger's Cage. So really setting up this Sam, you're not going to do anything fun this game kind of plan. The Delver is so good at playing, only a threat away from really being in a commanding position.
Yeah.
Sam also with another Urza Saga, another key, and a Lotus Petal turning on this Mox Opal. So Sam's still in this very much, another land in Sam's hand, and they can start making constructs. Cat casting a Brainstorm here, digging for the next piece of the puzzle, as it were. What are you thinking on Sam's side here as far as what you're not looking to see, what you're trying to do? What's going through your mind if you're in the mind of Sam Black, Mason?
If I'm in the mind of Sam Black, I'm hoping that there are no threats come down for the next couple of turns because I have some Urza Sagas that can maybe steal this game if I draw another land or have one in hand. I'm also looking for maybe a card like Karn. Karn is a card that I can use to wish in order to find some other things and generate some card advantage that way, since I can't play cards off the top of my deck with Cage. If we're going to find Karn, though, we're going to probably need Ancient Tomb first, but it's something that is, in the wheelhouse of things we can do.
Yeah, and Cat resolving this Brainstorm, fetching away a card they didn't like and an Underground Sea, kind of freeing up their hand a bit. Let's going to see what the follow-up here is. And a Ponder. So we are still looking for that perfect world in which we want to live as the Delver player. It's like a Dragon Rage Channeler, a Mishra's Bauble, and a fetch land.
Yeah, I think this is maybe a good example from Cat's side where there's the DRC that we want, but that's all. And the other 2 cards aren't very good. So we're just going to try and take a redraw. And, the DRC isn't even the, online with Delirium. So it's not like it's the end of the world for Sam here.
Yeah. It's also one of those ones where if we had another mana this turn to cast the DRC this turn, maybe it's worth it then. You draw the Bauble, you surveil away the land, you're freed up again. But, really on these Ponders all weekend, you're going to see if a player's keeping a Ponder, it's going to be the best. And otherwise, they are looking for nothing short. As Sam does have another land here, Inventor's Fair with this Mox Opal, able to activate their Urza Saga and start making constructs. Really just another layer to this, right? Last game we saw, a bunch of keys, we're going to get a bunch of mana, draw a bunch of cards. Now we've got a 4/4 looking next turn to possibly just make a 5/5, go get an artifact. There's a lot that Cat needs to be worried about.
I don't want you to have a meltdown, Abe, but I think Cat's about to have one, which is going to blow up Grafdigger's Cage, but it's going to blow up everything.
Goodness.
And you see Sam's face.
Sam does not look too pleased with this development. I've got to be honest. And it's hard to be. Meltdown kind of being the force of vigor of all time here. Trading that Grafdigger's Cage and that Meltdown for everything Sam has done this entire game. Someone who's played a lot of Hammer Time in Modern. I'm very familiar with that feeling. We have a DRC here anyway, a Brainstorm. Cat
That's
is now
another
firmly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and this is sort of, what we talked about Cat was looking for when we talked about sideboarding. Now, I personally missed the Grafdigger's Cage, but, it did end up coming in here. We sort of had it all. We found the threat, and now we're doing Delvery stuff.
Yeah, so if you're Sam here, you're now behind the 8-ball. They've got the DRC. You're on the clock. You don't have more than this one land. What is it that gets you from here to being in this game?
So we need to start drawing lands now sooner than later. We need to just get mana so we can start casting our spells. We know Cat probably has more permission spells, and that is going to be a problem. So we need to do it while the clock's low. Now, this Orcish Bowmaster coming in dramatically changes the clock. So Sam's going to need probably, Ancient Tombs in maybe City of Traders in order to really have some stuff going and some mana rocks as well. And there's a Grim Monolith that gets dazed. So now Sam's going to fall a little bit further behind on the mana. And a big part of this all is Sam Cohen needs the House of Cards to come together and then to find a Mystic Forge and sort of do what we did last game. But Cat's not allowing that from Sam.
Yeah, an attack for looks like 5 here. Sam's not long for this world as another Dragon's Rage Channeler hits the battlefield. This Bowmasters is really taxing. It's 6 power in the air. That's a 2-turn clock, even with these constructs to block. Sam casts Defense Grid. Going to stop anything from happening from Cat on Sam's turns, but all the action the Cat needs to do is really on the board for their turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cat's sort of in the position where Cat's going to counter things that really matter, and that's about it. Nothing else is super happening. The Defense Grid coming down makes it even less of a worry. Now, we do have 3 mana, so we can do something like a Daze still, but it isn't, that likely to have happened. And with this main phase fetch, we might be seeing Cat trying to find, some more threats. Maybe cast something like a Ponder, look for another Bowmaster, and put Sam down on life. As there's a Meltdown. Sam smirks like, okay, I get it. No doubt.
Cool. Awesome. Feel like I feel a real kinship to Sam as I have watched many an artifact go into the graveyard in my life, and it does not feel particularly great to be on Sam's side of the table here.
Yeah, Sam, great player, great podcast on a great network, obviously, but a lot going down here.
Yeah, it looks like we're just trying to figure out what, if anything, we can do with this Urza Saga. Might as well play it out that far. What's the line here? You can have the perfect set of cards here. How's it you're getting to
I have a perfect set of cards. Is Ensnaring Bridge in my deck? Looks like it's not. Well, that was step 1, I thought. I'm not sure if there might be a line. This is obviously sort of a newer deck. I mean, Mystic Forge has got to be the start of it. I get. Oh,
how about the One Ring?
That will. All right, the One Ring is a good start. Now we have Orcish Bowmaster in play. We're gonna get the first draw for free because the Orc can't target us. Now the next draw is going to be able to kill us, so we have to win on the next turn or present another ring in Legend Rule again.
And in our hand, we have, I got the peek, a Paradox Engine and a Grim Monolith. So, as far as things go, not a bad place to be. I mean, we still need access to cards, but that's a lot of pieces of the puzzle here with the One Ring in play and ourselves going to 2 from the burden counter. So let's see what Sam's draw is.
I don't think it matters, but Cat technically should have attacked. It is a force play per the DRC's rule. I don't think Sam has anything that matters for untapped creatures, but a small little thing, you do still have to attack with that card, even though you can't deal damage.
That is a good catch, Mason. I agree. It's unlikely it's going to have any impact on the game. And Sam checking here. All right, are we going to remember the trigger? Which Cat has remembered.
And Sam's like, okay, good games. Can't win without it. And we're going to move on to game number 3 here. Yeah, what a wild game that was. And we sort of saw the Delver deck do its Delver thing, right, Abe? Interact early, have your high-impact sideboard cards that you find off your cantrips that give you a lot of card selection. Kick the opponent's teeth in and don't let them rebuild before you can kill them.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, really showcasing Sam's deck's resiliency to that. Even after that meltdown, getting that position where, if not for those 2 DRCs like back to back from Cat, could have had time to get that 1 ring online. If not for the Bowmasters having a real shot at that there. A really, really resilient deck for, again, we got Meltdown for 4 cards. We got our Urza Saga Wastelanded. We got Meltdown for 2 more cards. Like a really, really powerful showing. Really, really going to be exciting game 3 here to watch.
Mm-hmm. But before we get to game number 3, as those players are looking at their sideboards again real quick, let's talk about our future events here coming up. That way, if you're having fun, you want to play one of these events, we have a couple events coming up in Detroit, August 12th to the 13th. We have the Modern 10K Showdown. You want to come out and play that. You win that, you get to go to our end of the year championship series. Sunday, 5K Pioneer Trial. Then in Indianapolis, October 14th and the 15th, we have a Pioneer 10K Showdown and a Sunday Team 10K Trial. That's going to be Modern, Pioneer, and Legacy. Sounds like a lot of fun going on there. Then in the end of the year, November 25th and the 26th, we have a Modern 10K Showdown on Saturday and a Sunday 5K Pioneer Trial. That's what's coming up for there. And let's look at quickly what the players are playing for this weekend here as they're still shuffling up. There's a bunch of money on the line, a bunch of points. First place, $1,200 and 30 NRG points. That's going to help you get to our end of the year championship series. Pretty important there. $600 for second place, third and fourth, $400, fifth to eighth, $200, and the money goes down to top 32 with points going all the way down as we are starting up game number 3 here.
As we see both players drawing their opening hands. Sam going to be on the play here. Had to take a mulligan last game, and also kind of fell behind just to being on the road. We saw that Daze on that Grim Monolith be really, really impactful. It looks like Sam is going to take a mulligan, and Cat looks like they're going to keep.
Yeah, and it looks like not super happy there from Sam. Didn't look like it took much time for him to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure. Much like we're talking about Storm last round, where you kind of look at your opening hand, you see what it is you can and can't do. In the same way, this Colorless combo deck is a lot like that Storm deck. It's going to matter what your open is more than it's going to matter, about a broader hand again. You're going to look at your hand and know. Feels like just looking for all the right pieces. So Indianapolis coming up in October. Are we squadding up for that? Are we going to make that happen?
I'm down. I think I have to commentate the Modern 10K, but maybe I can do it from the hall / I'll get a hotel room or whatever, and we can do that. We can do a little team. Who's our third? Who are we getting?
Our third.
Yeah, I can. Maybe
I was talking about Jarvis. I can see about getting Jarvis.
Reel him in.
Yeah. He loves Legacy. Maybe we'll just see who wins today. Just call them up real quick.
Exactly. Yeah, this is actually a tryout to join the squad. We didn't want to mention it because it's a lot of pressure, but it could happen. Now, the problem is, I was thinking about maybe try to get our friend Misplaced Ginger, but then you and Ginger be vying over Pioneer, which is a crazy world we live in. I don't want to have to deal with 2 people who want to play Pioneer. So, we have to find somebody else.
I could give it to him if he agreed to play Mutavolts in his red-black deck.
He would never agree to that.
Strange that I might not give it up to him then. All right, let's see what Sam's 6 is looking like here. As he's getting his first look at it, we're getting our first look at him taking his first look at it. Looks like a keeper.
Yeah, a little keeper with a little thinker on it.
Certainly doesn't look like a 5 there. So we have an Ancient Tomb down to 18.
Why is the... Oh, I guess Sam just hasn't fully moved it over yet.
Yeah,
that's just what's happening.
And we've got a Grim Monolith being met by...
Sam just didn't realize that they hadn't put it on bottom. That's actually what happened. That's much funnier.
Force of Negation pitching Ponder here, getting rid of that Grim Monolith. Let's see if Sam has anything else. Nope. And just a quick Wasteland from Cat, sending us back to square 0. Let's see what Sam's follow-up here is.
I really like this play from Cat. Sam's deck is, lower on lands. It's a little higher. Actually, the Urza Sagas are hiding from me here on melee. So it's actually 16 lands. I know I mentioned 12 earlier, but that was my mistake. But Sam's just aggressively going after the mana because... they're going aggressively after Sam's mana because Sam needs that mana to function.
Yeah, and as we see, Sam just does not have another land, and Cat's 2 Wastelands have completely shut Sam down. Keeping Sam off of any man at all to get going means now Cat is in dominant control of this game.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to see a fetch for the Underground Sea, and maybe it's in like an Orcish Bowmaster here.
And that's exactly what it is, Mason.
Yeah, this card has really done a lot to change the context of Legacy and really put this deck back on the map.
Yeah, and Sam really just under any amount of pressure is a bad place to be against this Delver deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, so we're seeing an attack for 2, dropping Sam to 15. What's the route for Sam? Obviously, land's got to be involved, but what's on your mind here?
I'm thinking land, probably a soul land, like, Ancient Tomb or Sea of Traders into Defense Grid. That way we don't get countered. We get a little mana rock going, and then we get Mystic Forge, and we sort of do what we did in game 1.
Yeah, and we're going to see Cat brainstorming here, another fetch land, trying to prevent that reality from coming to fruition. Sam does appear to have a spell to cast, a Lotus Petal. And that is it. Back to Cat.
Cat holding the Minor Misstep there. Some good patience on their end. Could be really tempting to, go after that Lotus Petal, make sure Sam has no mana, but instead, no, Sam's deck is full of 1 and 0s that actually matter. That could be a lot more effective, like maybe Mox Opal.
Yeah, not fighting over those small ball, mana rocks, but looking for a permanent mana source. Looks like Cat's really being disciplined about this and using another Orcish Bowmasters to tighten the clock on Sam yet again.
Really like this from Cat here too, where they have Meltdown hand.
Oh, yeah, this Cat has a Meltdown?
Yeah, Cat has a Meltdown. So Cat's just letting it happen because there's no payoff. Cat knew a 1 mana spell would have to be involved, and it's just going to attack, and I think fire off this Meltdown, get a little 2-for-1.
Yeah, allowing Sam to dig his own grave by avoiding moving to discard. Is it really card advantage if those cards might have been discarded anyway, Mason?
It's hard to know. Philosophers have thought about it for years. This Grafdigger Cage is to play a City of Traders, comes down, and with 2 Bowmasters, there's a lot of damage with the ring, and the Grafdigger Cage covers the Mystic Forge, so we'll take key as the cast.
And then another key with 1 floating. See Cat responding here with a fetch.
Yeah, this might be Cat just firing off the second Minor Misstep on the key, just being like, hey, I've got lethal in the next turn. Let's make sure there's no mana rock shenanigans. I can't counter those. Makes sense now, too, to fight over this sort of second one when the first one's maybe not that big a deal, just, basically going up a single mana.
Yeah, absolutely. What Cat doesn't want to see is a world where a Grim Monolith comes down and suddenly Sam has enough mana to overpower maybe not having an answer for that initial mana rock. This Cat puts Sam to 3.
And another Grafdigger's Cage. I don't even think Sam had many answers to the first, but surely not any to the second. As we're going to see,
and extends the hand.
Yeah, congratulations to Cat there, picking up a great game and played incredibly well on their part. Game 3 especially, where just making sure to do what they needed to do and have it happen the way they needed is important. So we are going to have an interview with them here in a second. So we're going to give them a second to go, get their cards together and do that. But yeah, like I was saying, game number 3 there, I really like the way Cat held the Minor Misstep. It can be really tempting to be like, I've, aggressively Wastelanded Sam Black out of this. I'm up a bunch of material. I'm just going to fire off this Minor Misstep on this Lotus Petal and make sure Sam can't get anything going. Instead, knows anything that Sam can play with this Lotus Petal, I can just counter my 2-for-1 / there are even better zeros, even if they do that, like Mox Opal, that could actually get Sam back in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big win for Cat there, playing at Sam Black, arguably one of the most accomplished players in the room today, while also being in the hunt for the leaderboard. I think currently, 13th place on our 2023 leaderboard. So really racking up those points.
Yeah, and really, the orange players on the list are already qualified. So while it matters for the Player of the Year race, which is important, and Steven Dykman is crushing, it really means that Cat's actually in 10th, tied for 7th place. So Cat, a good top 8 this weekend could help lock up their position as we are seeing it here. Yeah, so Dykman, Raja, and Eric are all already qualified. So those names are ones you don't have to worry about, which means our top 6 players. So for example, if it ended right now, Chris Smith, Fletcher Johnson, Sarah Shearing, Sean Gallagher, Saporito, and A. Adams would be our qualified players. But, we've seen a lot of these players like Theo over here in 38th point.
Very lightly.
Here,
You're kind of quiet.
To make it. So still a lot of points left. And with 3 more events, and we're going to see if Kat's going to make a run at it here. As I think Kat is ready for the interview. Kat, congratulations on the win. How are you feeling?
I feel really good. This is an excellent start, especially compared to yesterday. So I have really good hopes for top 8/good points today.
What were you thinking in game 1 when Sam just started the marionette craziness happening? Like Maestro.
I was having a blast. I'm a longtime combo player. I've played like every Storm variant under the moon, Twiddle Storm, Green, Blue, Red, all that. And it was just like, I loved it. I thought it was super sick. I felt bad because I was dead, but it was like super cool to see.
100%. Yeah, there was a great moment in game 1 where Sam cast that defense grid with that 1-man open. We can see the Daze in your hand, and everyone in the room sees that that, well, we're going to do what we can from here on out, but
yeah, and
see his deck do
it was especially bad with like 3 Dazes and brainstorming and like not being able to get my Dazes out of my hand. I was oh no, this stinks so bad.
Yeah, really there. But then game 2 and 3, your sideboard plans came in. You showed some really great discipline there in game number 3, not firing that minor misstep off on, kind of like a bait Lotus Petal there, holding it for the right time, saving your meltdowns, doing a good job there. So, with all that in mind, everything, and you've been having a really great run. We are just talking about your position on the leaderboard. Are you going to be playing the rest of our events this year to try and make that championship series? You're kind of tied for 7th place right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. I am aiming to make the Players Championship. That is my goal. And then doing extremely well there. I don't know. Like, I definitely want to go to all these tournaments. First and foremost, playing Magic is super fun. And it's a great outlet. I'm very new to competitive Magic. I used to do like PTQs and stuff and like never really got anywhere with it. But with after COVID and like the NRG series coming back, it's super local to me. I live right over the border in Wisconsin. Going to the store is like very easy, and meeting people kind of convinced me to actually get out there and grind. And it's been a blast so far. I've met so many cool people, played great Magic. I would like to take my game up to that next level and make the champs.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see that sort of journey and progress for you. So congratulations so far on being 3-0 in the tournament. Kat, I'm sure we'll see more of you this weekend as well on the series. We're going to give you some time to relax, and we're going to go to our backup match. So have a good rest of your day, Kat. We'll see you around.
Thank you. You guys as well. Thank you for everything.
Of course. And Abe, like I said, we do have a backup feature match, and we have some Mississippi River. So if you're a Legacy lover and you love the stream, I'm going to make sure to follow and all that stuff, but also tell your friends. This is a deck that only works in paper. It is not on Magic Online. And honestly, let's be real, would it even work on Magic Online if it was up? Who knows? Abe, I'm not even going to attempt to throw you under the bus here like you did to me in another match. I'm just going to tell players what's happening here. So as we're pulling this up here, we have the card Creative Technique here for Aaron. This card basically is going to copy your next spell. We're going to play Cascade spells, so we're going to go over and over and over again. We're going to play our whole deck and then cast an Emrakul or a Maelstrom Wanderer and attack for lethal with all of these Cascade creatures. It involves a lot of mana, so we have a lot of lands that produce 2 mana, like Dwarven Ruins, for example, a land that you can sack to make 2 red. And we're just sort of hoping to go off on turn 3.
And I want to point out that on the other side of the table, we have Oops All Spells, which is another namesake. Yeah, one of those famous, maybe even infamous, of the, all right, we're just going to do something crazy you can't do anywhere else.
Yeah.
As we're seeing, all right, this game is going to end on turn 2 no matter what. Because we've got 3 Summoners Pacts getting shortcutted here by the Oops All Spells deck.
I got a lot of respect here for Dan, who just goes, listen, I'm going for the pact. You got a counter spell? No. All right. I'm really going for it this turn. So if you haven't got a counter, you might want to wait. I'm all in. As we do get 2 Elvish Spirit Guides.
Yeah, I know you've played a lot of Amulet in your day, a lot of Summoners Packs. How many Amulets you need to comfortably say you're going to be able to pay, what's that, 6 green and 6 generic colorless?
I'm gonna need a lot. I'm gonna need to kill him, much like we're gonna try and hear. So we're gonna make 3 mana with the Balustrade and then the Tin Forger to make a black, and then Balustrade Spy. We're gonna flip our whole deck, and it works a little weird. So basically, these creatures are gonna interplay the Narcomoebas, and then we have some Bridge from Below's, and we have like Cabal Therapy. and then we have a Dread Return. So what's going to happen is we'll probably Cabal Therapy, make sure there isn't a Force or something, right? Then bring out your zombies, through the breach, bring back Thoughtseize Oracle, and win the game. So let's start with Erin's sideboard, as she actually knows what's going on, and Dan isn't sure what his opponent's playing.
Yeah. Where do you even begin as Erin after a game like that? You know, your sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Throes of Chaos, 3 Mirror Shell Crab, which, if you're not familiar, is a little counterspell you can channel for 3 mana, as well as being a 5/7 artifact creature. Colossal Sky Turtle, 2 of those, 2 Pyrokinesis, 2 Tybalt's Trickery, Ave Progenitor Ooze, a little Storm Ooze, and a Maddening Hex. Where's your head at, Mason, in the Mississippi River? What are you drowning in it? Are you getting swept away by it? Do you have your bearings? Where's it taking you?
Well, first I'm calling Judge to use the bathroom, and I'm ordering DoorDash. Then I'm going back to the table, and then I'm hoping that I can go get my food before the next round starts. But in case I get lucky and have to burn my DoorDash, I think the only card we have in our sideboard that can really matter are the crab. In theory, we could maybe channel to counter something, assuming our opponent has a slow start. And then Tybalt's Trickery could also counter. Otherwise, we just need to go as fast as possible. We need to get the Mississippi River going. We have to do this sort of thing. This deck sort of excels at fighting against, decks with lots of counter spells and slower, like kind of dirtily piled decks trying to play fair games. These unfair Oops All Spells deck, Reanimator, these are sort of big problems for the River, and we don't have much to help in that department.
Yeah, and moving over to Oops All Spells, obviously that game went exactly as planned. You have no idea what your opponent is playing, but you've got Force of Vigors, Leyline of Sanctities, some Leyline of the Void, some Xanted Swarm, a Foundation Breaker. You've got some tools at your disposal. What is it that are you changing anything? Are you running it back? Are you paying for all 3 packs? What's going through your head?
Yeah, so a little bit of something, right? Our opponent kept a 7-card hand in Legacy and didn't have any interaction. And so maybe isn't a blue deck, right? So, there might be a small chance. So I'm not sure if I want to bring anything that might be normally good against a blue deck. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. My guess is that if it was me, I might be tempted to maybe bring in like a Force of Vigor and like a Leylines of the Void or something like that. Just try and stop other combo decks / answers they could have for my combo. But I don't really want to oversideboard. My sort of read is that this is probably a go fast matchup, and I just want to go as fast as I possibly can.
So a little bit of second verse, same as the first is your prediction here?
Yeah, second verse, same as the first. Probably no Xanted Swarm. Let's see if the players are ready, though. I think they are for game number 2.
And it's going to be Erin's turn to be on the play here with their, only possible in Legacy combo deck. As we see, it looks like they're prepared to keep, and Dan is thinking. We see a Foundation
Dan has to turn 1 kill.
Yep.
If Dan wants to keep, but does have to, be willing to say keep and go all in on this Lotus Petal. And does, I guess, have Foundation Breaker. So if worse comes to worse, this deck is called Oops All Spells, but due to all of the battle for Zendikar lands, we have some actual mana sources in our deck. So we're not just all in on Lotus Petal as builds of this deck, sort of in the past were.
Yeah, and you can see Dan thinking about, is there a Leyline of the Void? This is actually a mulligan to 5. So getting rid of access to the answered Leyline really just in on the turn 1 as we see, what's the name of this? The red storage land. Sandstone Needle, 2 charge counters. You can remove 1 to add red as Dan is doing his thing. We've got a Dark Ritual.
Okay, yeah, gonna lead on Cabal there because we picked up the Simeon Spirit Guide. Just gonna name probably Force, maybe Surgical Extraction, kind of depending on what you think is the thing that's most likely to get you here. Dan is all in. Now, we did sideboard in the Tybalt Trickery. We had, our sort of counter spell, and we had actually a turn 3, the River sort of ran, but it looks like Dan is just going to go for it, and that is it. Unfortunate for the Mississippi River. We do hate to see it, but that is sort of the nature of Legacy, right? Sometimes we bring these combo decks and we place a combo mirror, and Oops All Spells sort of the ultimate, I'm going to go fast, I can win on turn 1, as we saw in both those games. Dan, playing a whopping 2 turns that round, didn't really like the camera, a little shy, wanted to get off it pretty quick, and we respect that from Dan.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't get to see the river run. I've heard that when the Mississippi River runs, it just keeps going.
It really does. Just like this stream is going to keep going, but we are out of matches for you right now. So you want to click that follow button. You want to drop a Twitch Prime, by the way. If you don't drop it on us, drop it on somebody. Just don't let that money go to waste there. So, support the paper magic. We will be back in just a little bit. We're going to show you some best of NRG live, so you have some magic on your screen. Click the follow button. We'll be back in just a minute.